Hi, so this is my much put off review of the so-called past month's worth of 2000 AD progs. It's actually more like, let's see, one, two, three, a month and a half's worth of progs and Judge Dredd magazine. So, and again, it's going to be a faceless video because I was out last night, but it was wholesome. I was celebrating my niece's 40th birthday. 40, can you believe it? Good God. Um, so yeah, today's definitely a recovery day. So hence why it's just the hand. Hello. So yeah, so let's get into it before I carry on waffling for any longer. Okay, so first of all, we'll start it off easy. We'll look at the Judge Dredd magazine with this really cool cover by Dave Taylor, R.I.P. Sadly, he passed away. I think it's about 6 months ago now. He lost his battle with cancer, unfortunately. So the first story is the second part of a Judge Dredd story, which focuses on. It's really interesting what they've done. They've introduced the film version, the original film version of Judge Dredd, so the Sylvester Stallone version of Judge Dredd, because from a parallel universe. So he's aged naturally. So he's now in our Judge Dredd's universe as an old man. And so he's kind of like just retired and living out his retirement years. But obviously, as with our Joe Dredd, nothing, he can't help but get involved even in retirement. And it's written by Ken Nyman, and the artwork is by Jake Lynch, whose artwork is becoming so good. I know there's a lot of people. There's a certain sector of 2000 AD fans who are stuck. They kind of like fell off around about the late 80s, early 90s. Definitely a lot fell off in the mid 90s when Dave Bishop took over as the editor. And I understand that because from 1995 to about 2000, he killed the magazine. He made it like a man's magazine, like Loaded, which was all full of like lad culture and stuff like that. It was just really awful and cringe. But then in 2000, Rebellion, I don't know if I'm giving you a history lesson, they came along and they bought out 2000 AD, and they also bought out basically all of IPC's, which was the original publisher of 2000 AD, Fleetway, all of their back catalogue of comics dating back to when comics first existed in the UK. So we're talking like 1900, something like that. So they've got the whole of that, and that's how we get like those treasuries of classic books now, classic comics. But that's by the by. But from then, within about the first 4 or 5 years, they reinvigorated 2000 AD till now. I'd say for the past 10 years, 2000 AD is equal with prime 2000 AD from the late 70s to the mid 1980s when you had fresh, exciting talent. And this is a long winded way of saying that Jake Lynch is one of the fresh, newish talents of the past, 10 or 12 years, however long he's been doing it now. And his art style has really developed so much. He's got such a distinctive but 2000 AD style of artwork, where it's that jagged, punky kind of style. And it works perfectly with this story. It was a very, very enjoyable story, this. It was just great. It's what you want in a classic to Judge Dredd story. And so I would give this story a solid 8 out of 10 for story and for art. And then this was a pleasant surprise. They do these one shots called Tales from the Black Museum. So it's kind of like the version of like the old EC horror short stories. So you've got the curator here, and obviously it's set in Judge Dredd's universe, so it's all about Mega City One, etc. But this one is written by Paul Starkey. The story's fun, but the standout for me is the art. It's Matt Parson, who is came to a lot of prominence and recognition in the past year with his work on a title for Rick Remender for Image Comics, Grommets, about skaters in the 80s. So it's really nice to see him doing art, and it's really unusual seeing him like doing in this black and white grey wash style as well. And it's perfectly suited for this because it's a very quite a humorous strip, but with a very dark sting in the tail at the end. So yeah, again, really enjoyable. Again, 8 out of 10. Then there's this. I think this is called Fire Kindness Story. This is a one shot, not one shot. This is just a poster by Paul Marshall, who's again art style's really evolved. Then there's a look at Anthony Johnston, who's done loads of comics and novels, etc. So a really good in-depth interview with him there. And then there's an interview with Ned Hartley, who's done quite a few 2000 AD strips of recent years. This, for me, is the only strip I'm not that keen on, Department K. It started life in 2000 AD Regened, and I don't like how they've put this story that was aimed at younger people into Judge Dredd, because Judge Dredd magazine's always been definitely just for adults, so it just doesn't make sense. So it's the odd duck in the comic. It focuses on Judge Dredd when he was a cadet and the people that and the team that he works with. I think no, sorry, I got that wrong. Department K is not that. That was Cadet Judge Dredd. I'm tired from last night. Department K deals with this department that deals with like interdimensional situations. And it just doesn't fit in. It's not a strip I enjoy, but it's never around for long, so it's fine. But it's just average. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Then they give a look at Action, the luxury collection, which I've done an in-depth video on. Do check that out. And then this has been a very satisfactory story. Armitage, he's basically an inspector from Britsit, which is like Great Britain in Judge Dredd's time. And it's written by Liam Johnson, art by Stas Johnson, whose artwork I really love. He's just got a nice fluid line to his penmanship. And it's just good. It's just a good whodunit kind of detective story, a futuristic detective story. And this wraps up this storyline where he's reunited with a past judge who he got involved with. And it ends on like a very bittersweet note, and there's a twist in the end on the final page where he looks like he's been investigated and he's not got knowledge about it. So yeah, again, a solid 8 out of 10. I love this poster by Colin McNeil. There's two people now who I think have inherited the banner of being like the go-to strontium dog artist after Carlos Esquire sadly passed away, and it's Colin McNeil, and the other one is Henry Flint. I mean, just look at this, just a wonderful layout. I love that. If they did this as a print, I'd buy that and frame it. It's wonderful. And then this, I've really fallen in love with, Rock the World. It's been a series. There's been 3 different storylines in this. So it starts off with Rock of the Reds or something like that, and then it's Rock the God, and now Rock the World. So it's basically about this alien who comes to Earth, and he disguises himself as this footballer, and he falls in love with the game. So it's basically like Roy the Rovers or some kind of sports strip. So Roy the Rovers meets Invasion Earth or something like that. So it's really, really funny. But it's John Wagner writing it, and Dan Cornwell, whose artwork just improves with each issue, doing the artwork. It's great. It's got that kind of science fiction vibe of, I've said this before, I'm sure I have, of Alan Moore did a strip ages ago in the 80s called Skiz, and it's like a British version, very working class version of E.T. And that's what List does for like Alien Invasion. It's just great. It's a perfect. It's only John Wagner could get away with doing a perfect blend of sports, classic sports, Rider Rovers kind of strip with kind of little bits that are quite shocking in places, with a intriguing science fiction story as well. But just look at that artwork. It's just gorgeous. I really, really do enjoy Don Cornwell's artwork. So as you can see, it doesn't hold back. So yeah, I would give that story. Like I said, it's to say that I'm not. I've said this before. To say I'm not into sports, so I get a lot of enjoyment from sports strips. I'll give that a solid 9 out of 10. There's a really nice Clint Langley poster of Nemesis the Warlock. I hope these are hints of strips that are going to come because I'm all for more Nemesis. Then there's another one about an artist called Peter Clinton, who's done some stuff for 2000 AD. This, though, is the highlight. Megatropolis. This was Dave Taylor's last work, book 2. And it's basically like a 2000 AD Elseworlds of given like an alternate universe version of Judge Dredd. So it's kind of like it's like a neo noir, almost like it's got for me it's got vibes of like a peak Terry Gilliam wonky science fiction. So kind of like Brazil or 12 Monkeys, where it's got that kind of like retro futuristic feel to it. So the names are recognizable, just like Absolute Batman, where the names are recognizable, but they've completely overhauled the whole universe. And it, like I said, it reads more like a very pulpy, noirish mystery. It's just superb. I would advise people to hunt out the first volume. I think you still get it in collected editions of Megatropolis. I would give this story a easy 10 out of 10. Like I said, it's tragic that we've lost such a talent, but what a high note to go out on. It's the artwork of his career and just wonderful. And this shows you what's coming out next month, which should be, I should get that hopefully on Monday because I've subscribed direct. So Fargo on Mac Bay. So Fargo, this woman, this female detective here, she is the great ad infinitum grandma or whatever of Judge Dredd, etc. And that's I forgot what his name was now, but he was from Valiant Comics. Geeky or Hog would know. But yeah, so you get 100 pages, a lot of strip, a lot of interesting articles. It's still giving you a lot of value for money. I would give the thing as a whole, because a lot of strips were 8 out of 10, and there's just one weakish one, and then there was one which was 10 out of 10, which was 9 out of 10. So I give this an 8 out of 10 as an average. Very, very satisfactory. So now we'll move on to 2000 AD. So with 2000 AD, I won't go as in depth because there's a lot of there's a number of there's what 6 or 7 progs. I'll just give you like the synopsis of if there's any news stories or what my thoughts about the serialized stories already. So, but let's just look at those 2 covers. Just fantastic action covers. So the big story from a few progs ago was this one here, Death of a Judge. It could be, John Wagner was saying this could be his very final Judge Dredd story. He wants to enjoy retirement, so he said if he feels the muse, if he feels the inclination, then he might, do another story. But at the moment, he's just doing that rock strip what I mentioned, and that's it. But this is a perfect way to, if this is his swan song for Judge Dredd, it's a perfect way to go out. And it's got amazing artwork as well by Mike Perkins of Ram V's Swamp Thing run and the recent Dan Jurgens Batman tale set in the Second World War, First World War, just after, whatever, around about that time period anyway. So it's got his intricately detailed artwork. I think this is the first work he's done for 2000 AD, and it's just fantastic. So this was the penultimate episode, and it gets to an explosive finale. I don't want to say much about it because I encourage you to buy the collected edition or subscribe digitally or buy back issues from 2000AD.com. You will not be disappointed. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. It finishes on really perfectly. Even though you know it's not going to be Judge Dredd who's going to be killed, John Wagner has this skill of making you doubt yourself, and yeah, it's just he's just a such a great writer. And like I said, Mike Perkins, for goodness sake, one of the best current artists we've got in comics. I don't know what 2000 AD are doing or Rebellion are doing. I don't know if they're giving. They must be giving great page rates because they are getting the talent. Like I said, you had Dan Parsons on Judge Dredd magazine. They've they're really getting the talents at the moment. And talking about talent, one story I absolutely love, and the good thing about Threads, I know Geeky or Hog keeps on hyping up Threads, but the comics community on Threads, I've got a list, so I mean TH, then READS, so Threads. Um, it's very warm, very friendly, and you can have great conversation. You never know who's going to join in your conversations. And I've interacted quite a bit just on comments. I've had likes, etc., and just comments from the writer David Barnett, and the art is by Lee Milmore. So I've said this before. This is like the closest thing I've read in a long time that gave me the same sense of enjoyment of an urban fantasy since Mage by Matt Wagner, and the artwork is just getting better and better. And I love how the guy he's the main guy Hearn. He's meant to be like the reincarnation of Hearn the Hunter. He's just a lovable buffoon. He's not dislikable at all, but he makes so many mistakes. He's clumsy in his. That's the way I could describe it. He's clumsy in his outlook. So he's like on this quest to make himself Hearn the Hunter. So he's got to pass these series of tests, and so he encounters all these mythological beings from UK folklore. So it's just basically like an urban fantasy slash road movie, and it's just been such a joy to read. And like I said, the artwork just gets better and better each issue. So really enjoyable. It wrapped up with the latest. Like I said, I'm going to be jumping around because I'm just focusing on the stories. I don't want to do it episode by episode. So it wraps up with the latest issue, and it's left it with a nice opening for the next chapter, the next sequel, or the next volume of this storyline. And it's just been so much fun. And the final one has got one of the best. I just love this. I mean, look at them; they're all complete oddballs. This is what I love about 2000D over American comics. The heroes are never, more than likely, they're not going to be poster boys. They're not going to be muscular heartthrobs. They're going to be oddballs like this. I mean, look at them. I mean, you've got two chavs who do a podcast. You've got an undead witch whose head keeps on falling off. Got another witchy kind of person here. Then you got Hearn and Shuck, who's the dog that raised him from a child. But it's just the line here. So it says, just like the Avengers, if the Avengers were a bit shit, and it just sums that. It just sums the whole series up with that. It's just so good. So yeah, Hearn and Chuck, 10 out of 10. I adore that series. It's become one of my favorite comic strips from 2000 in a long time. So let's get back to where we were. So we've looked at Hearn and Shuck, and then there's been Judge D. So this is kind of like a more grungy take on Judge Anderson. Basically, Judge D is a psychic judge, like Judge Anderson is, but she's also got a demon living inside her. It's written by Ben Wheatley, the director. He's directed episodes of Doctor Who, the Peter Capaldi run, and he's also done films like High Rise, um, something that one about set in the 1600s field in England, and other really great standout films. So, and he's one of the biggest 2000 AD nerds I've come across. I thought I was a big nerd about 2000 AD. He really is. Um, do check out 2000 AD's YouTube channel because there's a really good interview with him. But this is drawn by Simon Colby, who's one of my favourite artists of the past 10 years or so. 2000 AD's art style's become so refined, and it's just such a fun story. Ben Wheatley's got a really good sense of humour, but the dialogue's great, the artwork is superb, and it wraps up in a few issues' time. So we'll come back to that later. I'll give him marks out of 10. And another story that is finishing soon is The Discarded. This is by Pete Milligan, of course, of Shady Shades Man fame and other wonderful strips. And the art by Kieran McKeown. I don't know where they've come from, but I love their artwork. Just look at the detail in their artwork. They've got a really, really wonderful style. So this is sci-fi as only Pete Miller can do it. He's basically like the natural successor to Pat Mills, where he takes on politics and does it in a very enjoyable way. He blends it perfectly with a good hard-edged science fiction story. Um, so basically, it's a really clever story. So her dad, she's an undercover copper. Her dad um, is on this prison planet. He's basically trying to get people to think for themselves and cause an uprising on Earth. And he's basically just, he's right. He's got the right idea, because basically it's basically like a reflection of how America is at the moment, with how Donald Trump has just brainwashed so many people, and if you don't obey him, then you get deported, you get sent away. It's that kind of thing, but done on a bigger scale, on a more epic scale. And so she's bought in. She's drunk the Kool-Aid. She believes what the governments and the powers that be are saying. So she's been brainwashed, and so she thinks her dad's just this radical fanatic, and she's quite happy to arrest him or even kill him if she needs to do. So she goes onto this prison planet undercover, and it carries on from there. But we'll come back to that later. And then there's a Fargs thrillers, money shot, high stakes. So we looked at this last time of the first part. So this woman ends up in this, like, she drives and she ends up in this different kind of like world where, so it goes into like this almost like Sin City kind of black and white with splashes of red world. So into this world inhabited by vampires. And this character appears, Kirsted Brigham Doom, who had a strip in Nice, I think, in 2000 AD. So it's a really random deep dive to bring him back. And so these carry on. And it ties up in this issue. So Fargs thrillers are just 3-part stories, and sometimes they can end up leading to like ongoing series if they're popular enough. And it was satisfactory read. It was quite a fun little read. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It wasn't essential, but it was enjoyable enough. Okay, so now on 2470, which has got this wonderful Clint Langley picture. It's nice seeing him coming back into like a more Paisley style, and just because he went through like a computer period, but he's now going back into this more Paisley or pen and ink style as well. So in this prog, there's a one-shot story by Ken Nyman and art by Rob Richardson, who did that thrillers story from before. It's a one-shot. It's fine, but it's not a standout to Judge Dredd story. It's just a solid one. So I give it a 6 out of 10. And the only other news story in this prog is a Farg Future Shock, which is called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And yeah, it was okay. To be honest, yeah, it was a very forgettable one, but It's a one shot, so at least I've not got to sit through another one or two episodes of it. So I'd give it a 5 out of 10. And then we're on to 2471. Wonderful cover there. I think it's a Cliff Robertson cover, who does some of the best 2000 AD covers going. This is really good. It's by Rob Williams and Ned Hartley on the writing, and PJ Holden on the artwork. So they're basically doing like this interstellar chase to find these terrorists. And so this is one of the terrorists who can change his appearance at will. But there's also like these crime lords who are trying to find them as well. So we've got these two factions, and the judges, of course, in the middle. It's just great, very fast paced. But I'll give my mark of it in the later episodes. So it talks about those already. And then there's a one shot terror tale by Andy Ewington and Mike Walters. It was okay. I kind of predicted what would happen. It's about a young child who wants to have the privilege what you get as an adult, and he gets his wish, and it carries on from there. Yeah, I give it about 6 out of 10. So the next, this is a big issue. So 2472. This is the return of Brink, which is one of the best strips of the past 10 years in any publication. And it kicks off with a double chapter, so you get 10 pages instead of 5. And so it's by Dan Abnett and Ian J. Colbard. It's just perfect. If you like series like The Expanse, this is the kind of sci-fi vibe with this. It's in space, but it's a very hard-edged police procedural as well. And she's just amazing, the main character. But yeah, it's just so nice to be back in this world. And the artwork is just some of the best artwork in comics at the moment. It's very, very satisfactory. So this is the final current issue. So this story progresses. I would give this story 8 out of 10. Very, very strong story. So as I mentioned, Helen Shuck finishes with this issue on a very satisfactory note. There's a new thrillers. This one is quite enjoyable. It's by Liam Johnson, art by Steve Austin, not the $6 Million Man. And it's Who is Adrian Apollo? And he's kind of like a secret agent working for Earth to infiltrate this planet. Yeah, it was fun. Again, very pulpy, kind of fun. Give it a 7 out of 10. Hi, so my camera went a bit funny then, so I've just had to restart. So I'll be really professional. So there might be a weird glitch just on this bit, but nearly finished now. So this is part 2 of Brink, and oh my god, this is such a return to form. It's the one series where even the talking heads are interesting because IJ Colbard just knows how to do the form and how to do expression so well. Less is definitely more, and it works so well. It's just a really good mystery. It's a bit different to the other volumes that they've had, where with this one it's more like it's focusing on a lot of different characters, how they're settling in to the base, and you can tell next issue it'll lead into something a bit more. So yeah, very, very satisfactory. I mean, just look how he draws. It's just so clean, so wonderful. He's another one of my favourites. And then the discarded. Just got to point out again how what I love about the art in this, his art style is just evolving with each episode. It's just so good. And I can't wait for the next issue because it finishes on this cliffhanger because the next issue winds up this current storyline. And we won't know until next issue whether she's going to save her dad or kill her dad. It's wonderful, wonderful. It's Pete Milligan at peak. And nothing to do on droid suits, nothing to do with stories. So, oh yeah, I'd give this 9 out of 10. I would give Brink 10 out of 10. It's just wonderful. So, do get this collection if you've not read it. Since the Dexter, Bulletopia, because it leads naturally into the series what I've been raving about for ages, Azimuth, which is coming out as well shortly. So do buy those. So yeah, so the current batch of 2000 AD comics, I would give an average of, yeah, I'm going to say it again, 8 out of 10. They're just on such a high at the moment, from the covers all the way to the interiors. The only things that let it down occasionally are the only two stories I've not liked have been the two one shots. That's nothing. I mean, if that's the only thing out of 7 issues that's been bad, 2 5-page stories, I can live with that. The rest, wonderful. So yeah, 2000 AD. If you're not buying it, you really are missing out. Yeah, it's not old 2000 AD, it's new 2000 AD, but it's a solid anthology still. So hope you enjoy that. So another roughly month's time, I'll do another review. Okay, bye.